Apparently I was pronouncing it wrong. It's Kanan, not Canon, or Conan, or whatever the hell I was saying. So my bad, guys. Sorry. Anyways, so here we are with the crew barely keeping it together. They're struggling. They have almost no resources. They'll be kind of forgotten by the end of the episode. At least they get paid. At least they do actually get paid by the end of the episode. I'll just want to mention how much I like that idea. And it's funny to me because I've seen two other shows do that idea. One successfully and one not. That would be Farscape and Voyager, respectively. It's just a cool idea, and I like the idea of the Rebels, barely being able to keep the lights on, so to speak. I also want to mention how this is our second episode to date. Now, yes, I know there were the 4 shorts establishing the characters, which we're not covering. But of the actual series proper, this is the second episode. And there's R2-D2 and C-3PO. I know this sounds petty, but I think that's too early. I really think that they shouldn't have jumped right onto that immediately. Now, on the one hand, I do understand why they did. It's the same reason why Yoda was part of the very beginning part of the Clone Wars, because we need to establish a popular Star Wars character to connect people who aren't really into Star Wars into the show, to get investment of the viewers and blah, blah, blah. I get that. From a purely creative perspective, I think it's jumping the gun. Especially since what you're effectively doing from a narrative perspective is you're tying in this crew to something more high tier than they probably should be interacting with. But I've already complained about that last episode. That being said, they've been doing a lot of other little references. It's worth noting that most of the crew who works on these shows they're Star Wars geeks, and it shows. So the Star Tours thing, right? Quick aside, when I was younger, I had the great fortune of having the ability to go to Disneyland on a semi-regular basis. I say semi-regular, we went like 5 times, but I mean 5 times across my youth was a pretty, from, I don't know, 4 to like 10 or so, was awesome. And I have many, many very fond memories of those visits. And that was back when Star Tours was one of my favorite shows, despite the inordinate length of the line we had to go through in order to get in there. So seeing him, and by the way, it's apparently the original voice actor, and that was awesome. That just made me laugh. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Laura, you just said you think that the cameo, you just said you don't want this kind of fan pandering, and then you immediately praise the fan pandering. No, fan pandering is the wrong terminology. What I actually mean is it's fan service. Fan service in and of itself is not my problem. In fact, I'm actually completely with fan service, especially if it's well done. But my point is, connecting them to the guy from Star Tours keeps things low tier. He was some random transport pilot guy back in the original Star Tours. I know they've changed it in the more recent Star Tours, which I actually haven't been on myself because I haven't been back out to California in, God, over 2 decades at this point. But anyways, point being, connecting them to R2-D2 and 3PO is connecting them to the main cast of the original trilogy, which is a little bit higher tiered. You kind of see the variance and difference there. You can disagree with me if you want, and as ever, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. But let's move on and mention why Ezra is still terrible. I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but once again, I find myself just thinking, why is Ezra even here? A lot of the crew and their dynamics with each other is actually interesting to me. I'm starting to wonder if Ezra is actually not the main character. I mean, I'd be down with that, really. An ensemble cast can certainly work, and this is an episode far more focused on, well, let's just say the line, "That's not why they were banned," was actually a really cool line, and a really awesome way to kind of foreshadow where that would go. They actually did a reasonably good job of expositing throughout most of the episode, basically unveiling bit by bit across all the 20 minutes or whatever, exactly why these things had such an impact on him, as well as giving us some of his backstory and some of the backstory of his people, which is a race that we haven't really seen all that often. I can't remember the race name. Please don't put it in the comment section. I don't remember the race name. They mentioned it. I know it's based off of a sketch by, for one of the original sketches by, I can't think of his name, the guy who designed Chewbacca. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. We learn a lot about his past, we learn a lot about what's going on with him, and we get even a few tidbits as well, like little things that could be left for the future, like, for example, the idea that he used to be part of the Honor Guard, since only a member of the Honor Guard can wield that weapon, and he wields it with impunity. It's one of the reasons why Agent Idiot Face manages to actually pull him out into a fight. It's nice stuff. It's surprisingly good writing. I'm actually really impressed, because usually I see far less interesting writing. And I just want to say, even though I know we're only on episode 2 here, but I am overall more impressed with the general direction they're going than what they did with Clone Wars. I remember the first season, all season 1 of Clone Wars was just almost completely unmemorable, whereas this one's doing better so far. We'll see if I end up eating those words by the end here. A couple of little side points really quick. I do like how... I mentioned how I didn't like R2-D2's inclusion, and I don't. But I love what they did with him, and I do. He is still scoping around the galaxy, spying on little inferences and little pieces of whatever he can find as his role as Organa's agent in trying to figure out what the hell is going on and basically serving as the side of Organa that he himself can't. As I've said many, many, many times, people just don't pay attention to droids. They're furniture, right? So the idea that R2 can get away with as much as he does makes sense, especially given how smart he is and how, ubiquitous droids are in general. I love the idea that one of the ways that Organa, along with Bel Iblis and Mon Mothma, were originally able to rip together the pieces of the Rebel Alliance is because of the actions and influences of someone like R2, and probably others as well, reaching out and finding all of those little cells. I mean, how do you find them otherwise? You can't put out an ad. Attention! We're looking for any agents who are interested in fighting the Empire. Would anyone like to join us in our Rebel Alliance? No, it doesn't work that way, right? So it makes sense, and I like that. I also want to say that I kind of like how Agent Evil Guy is actually connected to the crew in a personal way. It makes sense to me because the crew is low scale, and Agent Evil Guy, the ISB agent, of course, is also low tier. They're not dealing with large stakes yet, and they won't be for several seasons by memory from what I know about the show. So that works, and I'm with it. Awesome. Either way, we'll see where this goes next time.